Hi everybody, this is Steven again, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create some eye sockets for this character that I've been working on. And I'm going to create this using a couple cylinders and go through a process of combining them to make the geometry around the face. Right now when you look at this character, it's really just a blank face, no nose, no features, no mouth, no eyes. So what we're going to end up doing is creating these eye loops and then integrating it into this mesh. So a couple things that I want to point out before I get going on this. Since I'm going to be using some polygon primitives, I'm going to be using the cylinder. When I first create a cylinder, if I just click on it and you haven't changed any options from the default Maya, you're going to notice that it just creates a cylinder right there. What I'm going to do is turn on interactive creation. This will give me the ability to create these loops where I need them. So I'm going to undo to take that off, and I'm going to come back out here. And I'm going to go to my front view. I'm going to kind of come in here real quick. Since I see this isn't lined up, like my eyes aren't right here at this axis, it could be that my image is just off a little bit. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go to the attribute editor, and I'm going to go to the image plane 1, which my image plane is attached to. So I just selected it in the background. And this value, this translate value, this is X, Y, and Z. What I'm going to end up doing is just holding down Command and dragging a little bit. And to get that, I can kind of get that to line up just a little bit better. Right? You can also middle mouse and drag in here if you're just very careful and kind of pull it from side to side. And I can get that to line up so that the eyes are directly across from one another, across the center line. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to be lining it up so that they're equidistant from the center line. So, and I'll show you these steps. I just wanted to make sure that they're aligned as close as possible right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this interactive creativity. And if I go to create and I go to polygon primitives, because that's what we're going to create as a polygon cylinder, I'm going to turn on interactive creation. And then I can just double click on this cylinder right here to open up the tool options. To point this out, if you don't turn on interactive creation, when you double click on that, you're going to get the options for the one that you just created or that one you will create. But in this case, it turns it into a tool and I get the tool options. So in this case, I don't have to enter a radius and a height. What I'm going to do is make sure that my axis divisions, I'm going to set it to 8. Now, by default, if I reset this tool, it's set to 20. So I'm going to enter 8. And then in the caps division, the height divisions, I don't care about. So the axis is around the radius. If you think about the front of the eye, I'm going to create these axes around the center, right? And I'll show you when that gets finished. The height divisions, I'm not going to worry about the height because I just want the end cap, right? And when I create it, I'll show you what I mean by that. For cap divisions, I'm going to set this to 3. And the reason I want 3 is I want to be able to have a couple loops around. And so I'll show you what that means as well. So when I have all those options, now when I drag out, I can actually close that because I've set the options for the tool. Now I can drag out, and I'm going to be dragging out that cylinder. It's saying also drag out the height. So I'm just going to drag out a little bit because it really is creating a height, but I'm in the front view, so you don't really see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over here to the top view, and I'm going to pull this forward, right? So that's my little cylinder, and if I press F on the keyboard, you can see it there. And if I press F on the keyboard, you can see it there. I can also see it over here. So I just wanted to bring that forward a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the faces, and to kind of point this out. So the axis, remember I entered 8, now I have 8 axes, lines coming out from the center, right? I also added 3 for the divisions on the cap. And so this is 1, 2, and 3, because I'm going to get rid of this middle one. But I also want to get rid of the faces around the outside of this thing. So I'm going to back out a little bit. Select all these faces out here, and then just press delete. Now, when I select this whole object, now you see it's just a front face. Now I'm going to come over here, and I just want to look and see how close this is to the front. I'm going to end up moving it back, but I'm going to move this back just a little bit so it's kind of right there in front of the face and not being covered by it. Eventually, I'm going to move it back and get it more in a better spot, but I'm going to work with it from here, from this front view, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to face, and I'm going to select all these faces. And right now I've got object symmetry on. So it's just working across this object, right? So I got rid of those faces, and I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm going to back out a little bit. So my next objective here is to duplicate it on the other side. Now I can do it later. I can do it after I've sort of set this up and got this sort of aligned the way that I want to. But I think right now what I'm going to do is duplicate it now and then use object symmetry so that when I create one, I'm automatically creating the other. So one thing I want to point out are these translates. Right now on the X, it's 0.045, the Y, the Z, it's got values. But I want this to be at 0. So the way that I do this, accidentally selected the geometry behind, I'm going to go over to modify, and I'm going to go to freeze transformations. And what you're going to notice is now it hasn't moved, but these are all now 0. The scale is set to 1, and I can also look at the channel box and see that on this, the translates and rotates are at 0, scale is set to 1. So this is technically a scale of 100%. So now I'm going to go over to edit, and I'm going to go down to delete all by type and history. And what this is going to do is it's going to get rid of any construction history that I have. It's a good idea as you're creating to go ahead and delete your history pretty often, because every time you do something, you modify a vertex, you change, you add an edge loop, it's adding construction history to your model. If you ever notice that Maya is getting slower and slower as you're doing different things, deleting your history, as long as you know you don't need any more of that history, and that means going back and changing the original parameters of those tools, you can delete the history and it'll be fine. So I can no longer go back and change that cylinder, but I can just modify it. I can edit it and modify it. So you'll notice there's no other construction history with this object. So now what I'm going to end up doing is I want to move this pivot point to the center, because what I'm going to do is duplicate this side over to the other side. And so I want to make sure that it's duplicating from the center. So I'm going to hold down D and X and snap that right over to the center. Now I'm going to go over to edit. I'm going to go duplicate special in the option box. And in this, I'm going to set the scale of to -1. And I've already used this, so you'll see that I already had a negative. So this is the way it would look by default. And I just enter a negative right before that, and then tab to accept it or return. Now, if I click apply, what it's going to do is it's going to apply that. It's going to duplicate it, but leave the window open. But if I click duplicate special, what it's going to do is it's going to duplicate it and close the window. So I click duplicate special, and there it is. I have now 2 separate objects, right? Now, if I'm using object symmetry, if I go to vertex, the problem is it wants to move on the object X. And right now I set the pivot point to the center. So it's not going to affect this other side. You'll notice if I move these, it's not going to affect the other side. So I have to go through a couple steps to make this work. So I'm right clicking, going to object mode. What I'm going to end up doing is moving this pivot point back to the center. So I'm going to go to modify, center pivot, and it's centered. I'm going to select this one, go up to modify, and again, center pivot. And now those pivot points are now in the center. I'm going to select both of them. What I want to do is treat this as the same geometry, and right now they're separate. So if I select one, it's separate from the other. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this command under mesh and combine. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it one mesh even though it's not connected. So now when I go up to the vertex mode with object symmetry on, I'm going to go down to the modeling tools, make sure I have object symmetry on, go to vertex. And now when I move that, I see that it's moving both sides. But what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to go to Q on the keyboard. I'm going to grab this inner loop, and I'm going to scale it up. Now I'm going to shift select, shift double click that next loop, and I'm going to scale it up. What I'm doing is I'm creating loops around the eyes, right? So it's not the inner part of the eye. It's not the eye itself. It is going to be the eyelids. And I see that I had already done something where this was combining. So what I'm going to end up doing is going up to vertex and then moving that up just a little bit to get these around. And what I could do is actually, I'm going to end up doing this anyway, is working together with these to make kind of a fleshy part around the eyes. right? And I'm probably going to be off my model just a little bit because the idea here is the eye is behind this. The round part of the eye is behind this area. So this is going to be where my eyelid is, but I'm going to kind of keep it a little bit open. Now I'm going to end up modifying this as we sort of move along because I want to get a better look around the eye. So I'm going to move these down a little bit and out. Give it a little bit more of an oval look to it, right? The eye itself is going to be round, and I have these areas here that's the top of the eyelid and the bottom of the eyelid. So I can match that a little bit more if I wanted to get that look going. Now, in my character, my eyes are pretty close together. Normally, you'd have a little bit more geometry going on right in here. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to open these up just a little bit to give myself some room to create a couple more loops. So then what I'm going to do is right click and go to edge mode, double click that edge, and I'm going to go to extrude. And now I can extrude that out. What I'm going to end up doing is going to the offset and just extruding that out just a little bit to create another loop. Now I could have done that with the regular circle, but just to show a different technique. Now I'm going to go to this edge, just select this edge, and I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm going to bring that out just a little bit. What I'm going to end up doing is making an edge right down the center. So I'm going to get a little bit closer to this. Q on the keyboard, get out of that tool, go to vertex. Actually, I'll keep working on this side, but it's working on both. Now I'm pressing W on the keyboard to move, and then X to snap it to the center of the grid. I'm going to select across that vertex, and you'll notice there are two verts selected, right? So what I'm going to do is then click Merge to Center. This little button right here is Merge to Center, and you'll notice that it merged those two vertices, and now it's one. So when I select across it, I just have one vert. So they are merged together. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Hold down X, snap it to the center. I'm going to hold down V and snap it so that it snaps it to the height of these two vertices here. Now with those two selected, I can drag across. You see that there's two, again, merged to center, right? And now it's only one. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. Right click, edge, go down to extrude, extrude it out. I'm just going to bring a little offset and bring it back in just a little bit. Now I can use the interactive if I want to, and it's can change it around that way. And press Q on the keyboard, go back to vertex, again W on the keyboard, and I'm going to hold down X, snap it to the center, and then V, snap it up here. Now I'm going to select across this whole thing, and you're going to see there's three of them, and then merge to center, and there's only one. This one, again, X on the keyboard, select across. Technically don't have to select across both, I'm just doing it to make sure, and then merge to center, and it should only be one. Right, so now I'm kind of creating this area around the bridge of the nose. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start building out the nose a little bit by going to edge and extrude, doing a little offset. And if I want, I can go to the perspective view to do this, or I can go to a side view and do this. Right, so that I'm kind of following the contours of my nose, and you'll see that my face doesn't really follow that. So what I'm going to end up doing is pulling this out a little bit, right? Get that to come out. And now I can just keep doing that. So G to repeat the previous tool, do a little bit of an offset. I can hit Q on the keyboard, and then G, and then I can just drag it out if I want to. If you ever see, by the way, if you ever see this 2D pan zoom, just press the backslash, and it's going to turn it back into just the perspective view. And I should be able to press F on the keyboard, and I should have the ability to bring this out. Yeah, it created another edge, so I'm going to pull that out. There we go. There. And now I can kind of pull this one out a little bit. Whoop. F on the keyboard, and I'll come over here, and now I can just keep doing that if I wanted to bring it down a little bit. So what I want to do, what I should do right now is get these to come back, I had made my face so that these vertices are kind of further out from the face than I really wanted. So I'm going to pull them back just a little bit, and I'll get everything to kind of line up. Right. Move this a little bit. Just get these, and it's nice that this is going right through the eyes, right down the middle, because that's kind of the point where I want to get to. And I'm going to hold down W. I have it set in component mode. I'm going to go to object mode and pull these back. And I'll pull it back to a little bit further. I'm actually going to grab these, pull these back just a little bit, right? So I can get it. I'm just going to be building on top of this. So for right now, I'm going to get these to snap, right? I'm going to pull these back just a little bit, right? So now I can be building on top of where the face is, and I don't have to, I'll be incorporating it into this geometry. I'll bring this down a little bit, right? And I'm probably going to modify more of this as we move along. So I'm going to select all this and move it back. Right. Now I'm kind of working with where the face is. So I'm going to come up over here, go to edge. I'm going to go to the extrude tool and again extrude it out. I'm just going to do the divisions. And then Q on the keyboard. Again extrude, offset. And it's tapering, so I'm going to widen that out just a little bit. And I can go back through and do that same thing. Extrude. Do the offset. I'm going to scale that out just a little bit. There we go. Keep it kind of going. Scale that out just a little bit. And I'm getting right to where around the edge of the nose there, which is good. I'm going to line these up just a little bit. Whoop. Let's go back to vertex mode on these. Go to the edge. Whoop. There we go. Go to edge mode. Oh, I wanted to fix that vertice. So I need to right click over here because it's trying to, doesn't know exactly what I'm trying to select over in here. So I'm going to move that down and actually hold down V so it snaps. Q on the keyboard, just go into the edge mode here, go back to the extrude tool, and then I can bring this down more, right? And then what I'm going to end up doing, go to G, and actually W on the keyboard to kind of move this in just a little bit. Oh, let me go to vertices. W on the keyboard to move, and move that up just a little bit. Get some geometry around the nose. Come down here. Again, go into edge mode. Got to be right on top of that. And then, which is why I use this one. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit more and bring it in. Bring it to about, let's say about right there. W on the keyboard, move it back a little bit. Go to F. Can I show this up a little bit? Go back to extrude. And then I can bring this back. W on the keyboard, bring it down. Extrude, or I could hit G again. Go up here, W on the keyboard, move it up. G on the keyboard. Do the offset. And I think I'm going to wind up about right there. Let's go over here and look. Yeah, now I've got a little bit of that. Now, so now I'm going to bring it down to go down to the lips a little bit. Let me just move it up. Right. And then W on the keyboard, I'm going to move it just about right here. And again, go G to go back. So let me go. I changed it out of my orthographic, so I'm going to get back to it. So this is my side view. There we go. Extrude, go down a bit, W to bring it out. Maybe bring it down just a little bit more. And now I've inside of this geometry here, go back to extrude, bring it down, whoop, bring it out. W on the keyboard. I'm just going to put a couple little edges here to get it kind of where I need to go. Extrude again. I can use the offset again if I wanted to. If you're looking at this, again, I'm going to be modifying this anyway, so it's not crucial that this isn't, it may not be lining up yet, so we're going to get it all to line up. All right, so now I should have like this profile around the nose, and I can bring in, go to these vertices, and bring these in so that I'm getting, I probably want to bring that out here. I want a little bit better curvature. Bring that one about right there. Just get the major details working first. And I go zoom this in a little bit. Created this one pretty close, so I'm going to move that here. Again, I'm probably going to end up moving these a bit more. Bring that in. Right, bring this out maybe just a little bit, this out just a little bit. You know, get a little definition in the nose. Bring this one down. Right, bring this one down. Bring this one down a little bit. All right. Whoop. There we go. And that should be pretty good. Bring this one out just a little bit. All right, I'm going to go back to my front view. There. And I can bring these out. Just kind of get them, they don't have to be perfectly lined up. And as it gets to the center of the nose, I probably want to have them a little closer because I want a little bit more detail and the curvature around this front part of the nose. And then the same thing down here, I can move these out, you know, get that to line up. All right, and then that's curling up underneath the nose. And I'll be spending a little bit more time getting that to kind of line up. So now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to extrude these down. These edges right here, going to extrude, and I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go straight down. Q on the keyboard, go to vertex mode, and I'm going to hide my geometry in the back. And if you just press H on the keyboard, you're going to be able to hide that. And to get it back, you can go to display and show all. And it's going to bring everything back. You can notice also when I do that, again, select that, press H on the keyboard to hide it. You'll notice that what I had originally called P-Cube1, which is going to be, you know, the body of the character, it looks like it's, you know, it's grayed out. So that's when it's hidden. So you can go to, again, display and show. You could actually just show selection because it's selected, or you can just go to show and show all, right? And it'll show up, right? But I just want to work on this really quick, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go to vertex, and then there's this vertex behind here that if I press W on a keyboard, I can then, and actually I'm just going to use target weld, and I'm going to target weld that to that, and it welded. So you notice it's like I'm kind of making this mask, right? Which is kind of the idea. And you've got this point right here, and this is going to be another one of those where you see the geometry is going across, but it's also an intersection, right? Geometry comes down, this comes around, this loops around. So you're going to see it's an intersection of 5 edges. All these are 4 edges. So it's an intersection. It's a crossroads where a lot of these meet up. So I'm going to have several of them. I'm going to have one here, one here, one here. And if I do the same thing here, if I go to these edges and extrude and just turn up the offset, you're going to see I've got another little portion right here that I'm going to end up modifying. So I'm going to go to vertex, W on the keyboard, move that up a bit, move this one down a bit. So you're going to notice I'm already building in these corners that are going to be intersections. They're going to be 5 edges. So I could do the same thing here, select these 2 edges, go to extrude that out just a little bit. So I'm creating additional loops around. And then I can go to these edges and extrude, right? And then vertex, and actually just target weld. Make sure I'm in vertex mode when I do that. And I don't want to do it here because I'm going to add some additional geometry. So what I can do is I can go down to extrude. I'm going to Q on the keyboard. I'm going to go to these edges. I can go to extrude, and then I can do the little offset. Q on the keyboard, go to vertex mode, and then I want to make sure that that's target welded there. And now I've got that same thing here. Q on the keyboard, select that edge, right? Extrude just a little bit. Q on the keyboard, make sure I'm in vertex mode, target weld that to that. Now I'm building in these quads right here as part of these intersections, and I'm going to be able to build out my geometry. So now you'll notice that I've just added additional loops in this whole setup. The other thing I want to do here is I'm going to select, let me select all this, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to pull those back just a little bit, right? Because all this is not going to be lined up in the same plane. And I'm going to select across these and pull those back. So let's pull them back to about here. Pull these back to about there. I can select all these and pull these back just a little bit. Pull these back just a little bit. Right? And so then I'm going to have the bridge of the nose right there. I could probably pull these. So you have that bridge right there that kind of comes forward from the eyes. You know, it separates between the eyes. And I'm going to select this and go to F on the keyboard so I can get kind of closer here. Pull this out just a little bit. Right? And I'm going to do that with all of it. And what I could do, I'm going to back up. What I could do is hold down B or press B, and it puts me in the soft select mode, and I can do this, right? And if I hold down B and drag, I'm going to be able to do that soft select, so that when I select these, it's pulling everything out sort of in this soft way, right? It is a gradient that goes outward, right? So when I pull this out, it's going to be pulling all of them out kind of softly, right? So, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to press W on the keyboard, and I'm going to move it back some. So it sort of is this organic flow to it as I pull these back. And do the same thing here. Move that back just a little bit. You know, so it kind of does this nice organic movement that I can, when it selects, right? So I can select that one and do the same thing, select that one and do the same thing. I can do the same thing here a little bit. So here I'm going to bring this forward, and here I'm going to bring this forward, and I'm going to bring this forward just a little bit, right? So now I know it's still kind of looking like a mask, but at least now I'm going to press Q on the keyboard and B to get out of that soft select, and I'm going to move these out just a little bit. Right, so now I've got these loops around the eyes, and I can start building out and building down the bridge of the nose, right? So I'm going to move down here a little bit, and I'm going to select these edges from here, and then shift select down to here, and I'm going to extrude that out. Just get that to come out just a little bit. And clearly I missed something over here, something messed up, so I'm going to have to fill that. So Q on the keyboard, I'm going to go to vertex mode. I probably didn't merge the vertices, so you're going to notice there's a little bit of an extra face there. So I'm just going to go to face mode, select that, and delete. Let's go to target weld and weld those two together. And you'll notice this one doesn't have a face, so I'm going to have to go to edge mode. Select these edges and do the bridge, right? But now these are not going to be mirrored, right? So I could just go back and make sure that I fix that. What I could also do is go to vertex, W on the keyboard. I'm going to hold down V on the keyboard and snap it. If it ever gets like that, here's one way that I can kind of get it back. So I'm going to go up to Windows, and I'm going to go up to General Editors. I'm going to go down to the Component Editor. And in the Component Editor, I'm going to expand this window just a little bit. If you go to Polygons, you'll see that it's the exact X, Y, and Z coordinates of that particular vertex. If I look at this one, I can actually compare the two. I have both selected. This one on the X should be a negative value from the other one. So what I can do is just take that value and copy it. I'm using Command C. If you're on a PC, you can use Control C and then Control V to paste that in, get rid of the negative, and now it's a positive across the axis. Now with this one, I'm just going to copy it, paste it over here, copy that one, paste it over here, and now they're exactly in the same spot. So I'm going to check these as well. When I select them, if it selects it across the other side, they're mirrored. This one is not, so I'm going to shift select this one, and then copy that, paste it, and then put the negative in. Same thing here. It doesn't matter as long as I'm pasting in the same value, right? It'll put it opposite. And then now I'm going to close this, and that will allow me to put them back across the center axis. So I'm going to kind of taper this in just a little bit. And now I can start to bring this in. I'm going to bring this in, bring this down and bring it in, bring this down and bring it in, right? So I'm just going to kind of bring these in just a little bit to get around the bridge of the nose, right? And then bring that in. And now what I can do is I'm going to use the target weld and weld that over to here. And since I'm going to be adding more geometry in here, I'm going to add more edge loops. I can spread this out just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to bring this in, bring that down a little bit, bring that one down a little bit. It's probably in a little too much. And what I could do is then go to my side view and make sure that I'm sort of following along the contours of the nose here a little bit. So I'm just going to, since I'm only moving it in this view, right? Select that one, get that to come up, move that one up, and I should just have this one more, right? So I'm kind of creating this area around the bottom of the nose, right? So, and I'm going to be adding more geometry to it, so I go back out here. So now I'm getting a pretty good look out of that. So what I want to do here is I'm going to create a loop going around the nose. Now there's a couple different ways I can go about this, but what I'm going to end up doing is making a bridge from here to here. So I'm going to go to this edge, right click edge, go to this edge, create a bridge between the two, right? I'm going to use the multi-cut tool to just kind of put a little vertex there and then hit enter. Q on the keyboard. And actually, I'll go to the vertex mode, go to the target weld, and weld that into place. Q on the keyboard, a multi-cut tool, and then I'm going to go from here to here. And then I'm going to put one, I'll hold down shift so it goes halfway, and then one here. And now Q on the keyboard, vertex, W, and I'm going to move that back a little bit. And hold down W and go to that way, it's sliding along the edge. Or I could use, shift, W, shift and control, and it'll slide it along that edge. If I do the middle mouse, right, it slides it along the edges, right? So now I have this little bridge along the nose, and I can move this out a little bit. And now I'm going to be creating loops around this way. So Q on the keyboard, I'm going to go to edge, go to these two edges. I can go to bridge. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it one division. So it does that. Q on the keyboard, again, go to here and here, do the bridge, and do one division, right? And then Q on the keyboard. Now, what happens with bridge, though, is it creates on these vertices, they don't actually weld them together. So I'm just going to move that a little ways, go to the target weld, get it together. There's another one over here, so I can just go target weld, weld that one to that one. Q on the keyboard, go to vertex, W on the keyboard, move it back a little bit. And probably also want to move it in, move that out a little bit. Start to kind of build out little contours around the nose. Right? Move that out just a little bit. I'm still in the component move tool, or on the component when I'm moving. Right? And I'm going to be creating, to give it, make it a little softer, I'm going to be creating more edge loops. But right now, again, I want to make sure that I'm just getting the major contours going. Right? If I look at my side view, I've got that. Now, if I look at my front view, I also need to get kind of these going out a little bit more. So I'm going to hold down W and then go back to object mode and kind of get these to go out a little bit. Right? And then I can select, I'm just going to select across all this. And I'm going to scale it out just because I have kind of this area that I want to deal with, right? And clearly my nose didn't line up because I have this going around the contour, but this is going down more. So I could keep it with that. It just depends on sort of where I want to kind of keep this. Depends on where I want this nose to drop down. I could bring it down more if I wanted to, right? But I'm also going to, let's scale that out just a little bit more. Whoop. I got one in the center there. Let me grab, yeah, kind of made a mess of this over here, didn't I? So I'm going to go to Q on the keyboard, and then I'm just going to select this one. I ended up pulling one a different direction. Let me grab this. There we go. Corrected that. Go out with these because they're, again, I'm marking an object symmetry, so I could just pull one out. And it pulls out one from the other side. So I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. Bring this one up just a little bit. Bring this one up just a little bit. Let's bring that down. Bring that one up just a little bit, right? I bring this out and this out, right? Because this is going down to where the mouth is going to be. And I'll do that kind of coming up here. So all I'm going to do now is just start building out on this. And on this one, I'm going to go back out to perspective view. Right? And I'm going to bring this down. But, so let's go, whoop, Q on the keyboard, go to edge, go to extrude, do the offset, G, whoop, offset, G, offset, G, offset. Right? So, and now what I want to do in here is I want it to separate. I want to start adding more geometry as it comes down. So again, I can just go to extrude and then just bring that out just a little bit. Q on the keyboard, switch into vertex mode, go to the target weld, weld that to there. And now I'm going to be adding this additional loop coming down. Right, so I'm adding further geometry, so I can then go to extrude. Whoop. Q on the keyboard. I was extruding the wrong thing there. Go to extrude. Add some thickness. Whoop. Let me go to Z. I'm going to go straight down. And I got to get this to line up, otherwise the extrude starts to get kind of funky on me. So I'm going to go to vertex. Hold that one up. Target weld. That one to that one, go over here, it's this one, target weld that to that, and now I need to bring these vertices in because otherwise it starts to kind of build it out. So hold down W, go back to the component mode, so I can kind of bring that in just a little bit. There we go. Bring it to about right there. Bring that in just a little bit, right? So now I'm going to be, there we go. Now I'm going to be, I have another center line. you know, I've added two new pieces of geometry, two new loops that'll come down as another intersection. So I have another intersection here, just like I created these intersections up here, right? So I can kind of work with this a little bit. Right? And then I can go to these edges, extrude, bring that out, or just add new thickness. Go to vertex, move it down. Again, target weld, weld that one to that one, target weld that one to that one, right? So, all right. So then I can go in here and vertex, get that vertex to come in. Get that one to come in just a little bit. And maybe bring that out slightly. And this one over slightly. Right? Okay, so then I can kind of keep going with that to get more of the face built out. And then that's going to give me, I'm going to go back to W and object mode and actually hold down Shift and Control to kind of slide these along. Select that one, get it to slide along the axes, right, just a little bit. So now I'm kind of building out the rest of the face there. And I really, when I messed with my geometry here earlier, kind of took these the wrong direction. So I'm going to fix that just a little bit. Whoop, and there I have a hole. So target weld that to that. Q on the keyboard. Good. Kept it in sync. So I'm going to bring this out just a little bit more. Maybe bring this out just a little bit more. Bring this out just a little bit more. Just kind of have it a little bit wider when it gets around the nose. Right? Get it to come thin in here a little bit and then kind of thicken out. Right? And again, I'll be adding additional loops to get a little bit more control over that. So you're going to keep building out the face in this way and then bring these up. So I should have, I'm going to display all, show all. And now I have, you know, the kind of the face starting to kind of be added on top of the head here, right? So I'll end up moving it back, but I can at least then start to kind of build where the face is going to be. And now I can move these vertices back just so that I'll get them to kind of line up where they need to be. And then the same thing here, bring this in just a little bit. So select this one, bring it out. So then I can start incorporating it into the face whenever I need to. Move this back. Oh, let me start from over here. Move this back over here. So I'm going to end up making some room for the ears too. Get this to come back. Right? Start to look at this in terms of where this geometry is going to intersect with that face. Right? And so at some point in time, I'm just going to go ahead and go to these faces and delete them. And I'm going to find this vertex right here. Vertex, move it up, just so I can kind of see it there. And then what I need to do is combine this. I'm going to end up combining these two so that then I can start to merge those together, right? And I'm probably, what I'm going to end up doing is I need another loop to come around here, because this edge is going to be sort of the center of the eyes there, right? So that's going to be around the center of the eye. So I'm going to need another, you know, loop around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this face for now. So I'm just sort of etching out where this is going to be at. And go up here just to kind of make this a little bit better. There we go. To where the top, where it's going to intersect with the top of the eyes. And then this is going to intersect here. So I'm just kind of etching it out right now. And then this one I need to get behind there and move it down. Right. So I'm probably what I'm going to end up doing is getting rid of these faces too. So I've just sort of carved out a spot in front of my character's face, sort of like a helmet to a certain degree, that I can then start welding things together when I get to that point. So I have to make sure I have enough edge loops around here to kind of weld them together. But I have to do that same thing where I combine, you go to object mode, you select that, you go to mesh and combine. I'm not ready to do that yet because I want to build out the mouth. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the front view. Kind of in a similar way, I'm just going to create a loop for the mouth. And again, I'm going to go over here to the polygon cylinder. And if I double click, again, I can look at these options. I'm just going to keep it at 8, cap divisions at 3. I can add more if I want, but I'm going to end up deleting the interior geometry. And then I can, with that tool, drag the base of this out to where I kind of want the edges of the mouth to be, and then just drag out just a little bit. That's going to add the height, is what it's doing on that second one. W on the keyboard, hold down X to snap it to the center of the grid, and then sort of position it so this axis is running right through where the middle of the mouth will be. And then I can go to vertex. Oh, I selected the head in the background. And let me do that. I'm going to hide it again. Select this, and I'm just going to go to the scale tool and kind of scale it down just a little bit. W on the keyboard. Let me go back out here, and now I've got sort of the mouth. I line it up on the side, right? So let's go about right there because that's about where that's going to be. Go to face mode, select the back faces, delete them. Just go to vertex mode over here, and I'm going to select this, and let me go back and do the soft select. So then when I move this back a little bit, right, it's selecting multiple, it's, doing that fall off again. Go to here. Let me go up over here so I can kind of see a little bit of this, right? Select that one, get that kind of come in line, move that one back just a little bit. Let's move this one back. Just kind of working with this soft select tool, right? And I could probably bring this back even further, and I'll bring it up just a little bit because I want to follow some contours of the mouth that I've created here. Right? You could just keep it straight if you need to. I'm going to pull this back, pull this one back just a little bit. And now, let's see. Go back to the front view, select that one, move it back just a little bit. So now I should be getting something that's, kind of following my contours just a little bit here. Right? Let's go over to the perspective view. And then we could start getting these the vertices here to line up just a little bit. And Q on the keyboard. Now again, let me go to B, turn off the that soft select. Now again, these aren't combined, so I need to combine them. But I'm also going to get rid of these faces and delete. And go to object mode, select that. Again, go to mesh and go to combine, and now they're all one. And then I can go again to vertex, target weld. And I'm going to target weld this to that. Let me get these out of the way. Vertex, W, These kind of got pulled out, so I want these to be there. Right? Q on the keyboard. I'm going to be adding, again, additional edge loops. So, and since these are triangles, I'm just going to get rid of these faces for now. And then go to these vertices, drag them out just a little bit. Because again, I'm going to be creating additional edge loops that are going to come around there, and I don't need those vertices so that it's straight, you know. And then I've got a little vertex there that I need to do the target weld. Right, so that's all combined now. And now if I select across these vertices, you see it's 1, and that one's 2. So I'm going to grab just one of them, just move it up just a little bit. Oh, yeah, it's 2 because I'm selecting the one on the other side, so it should be fine. And now edge, double click that, scale that up just a bit, scale it up this way, select that edge, scale it up. So I'm getting, you know, kind of around the mouth. So bring these down just a little bit. Right, there we go. Right, and then I'm going to end up bringing this in and creating other geometry around the lips. All right, which is why I create it this way, so then I can use the multi-cut tool, and then if I need to, create another loop around there. Right, so when I get to that point, I can start doing that, and then I'm going to bring the lips out, you know, vertex, W on the keyboard, move that out just a little bit, you know. I can start, you know, getting these to shape around where I want the lips to be located. Bring that one in just a little bit. This one down. Bring that one in just a little bit. So I'll be continuing to add more geometry around that. And now what I just need to do is just start building out where these are going to go down. So another thing that I want to do is we need, you know, nostrils to come up in here. So I can just choose one of the faces, which is probably going to be around here. I probably want another loop right in here, which I'll just go ahead and add that. So I'm going to hold down Control, and you just add loops when you kind of get to the point where they're needed. And then I'm going to go to Face. I'm going to select that one, and I'm just going to go to the Bevel tool, and it creates this geometry, right? It beveled around it. And then you'll notice there's a triangle here and a triangle here. All I have to do for that is use the multi-cut tool, and I hold down Shift to go halfway. Snap that. Go to Vertex. I'm going to hold down or press W, hold down Shift and Control to kind of slide that along the edge. And now I've got a little geometry there for the nostrils, right? That I've created. And now I can move these up just a little bit, right? And if I needed to add more edge loops around there, I can do that. So that's how I create little indentations around the nostrils. And now I'm going to need more edge loops here too. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And again, holding down Control. Actually, I'm going to put it here. So, because I don't want to bring it up there yet. So I'm going to select these. Actually, I'm going to press B on the keyboard to get back in my soft selection. And I'm going to move these in just a little bit. Q on the keyboard. Let me just move with the Move tool. So I want to just move these away. And I think I need to bring this out a little bit more. Right? It's got a lot more, it's going back a lot further than I'd hoped, so I'm going to bring these forward. There we go. Bring that forward. And this should be going in just a little bit. kind of that notch in the middle of your lips there in the upper lip. Bring that up, bring this in. It should be coming out right there, but these should be coming out. Right? Bring that in just a little bit, bring it out. There we go, a little bit better. Right, and then I'm going to have this edge loop here. I'm going to bring out. And then I think I'm going to bring them in just a little bit, right? So you bring that up. Good. Right, so I'm probably going to bring it forward just a little bit more to get the face to round out a little bit more. There we go. Looking better. Not perfect yet, but it's getting there. Right, so now I've got this area where I can go from here to here. So I can do one of two things. I can either go to edge mode and then extrude, or if you want, you can extrude out and then connect, whichever way you would like to do it. And then, whoop, let me keep it in edge mode. W on the keyboard and move it back. Right. Okay, then I'm going to do target weld. Whoop. Go to vertex mode, target weld that to that, target weld that to that. So now I'm building out some more of these edges and these vertices out here. Right, so that's that indentation right above the lips. And actually the center part should be in a little bit more. So you have that little divot right there. Bring these in. There we go. So again, working with the little details first and then kind of adding more details as we go along. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to extrude this. Whoop, forget when I hit extrude and I have vertices selected, it extrudes those right away. So extrude, bring that up, W on the keyboard, move that up. So I'm going to take this vertex, I'm going to move this back a little bit because I want, now that's going to go and I need another edge here. So Q on the keyboard, edge, and then I'm going to extrude, just give it a little bit of a thickness. Vertex, move that up, move that up, and then what I'm going to do is target weld those two things, and now I'm adding another area of geometry, other loops, so it's again another intersection right there. So vertex, move these out just a little bit, right? Right, and now I'm going to end up, bring this up to here. So again, I can, whoop, Q on the keyboard, edge, extrude, W on the keyboard, actually Q on the keyboard, go to vertex, target weld that to that, target weld that to that. And now I can select this, move it back some, and now I'm getting some contours around the face. Right. I could probably bring that forward just a little bit. Right, because I don't want that to be so far back. Same thing here. That needs to come forward. That needs to come forward. Right. There we go. Bring that in. Right, so now I'm getting some geometry around to where the face is going to come up, right? And then I'm going to bring this down, and this is going to come to here. So we just keep building it out like that. And then when you're done with all that, and even at some point in time where you want to combine all this together, I'm going to go up to display and I'm going to go to show and show all, right? There's the head where I'm going to attach my face, and I'm going to select both and mesh and combine. And now they're combined and I can start, combining them together. I can start working together with them. So a couple things to point out is I'm going to need another edge loop in here. Go to object mode. I'm going to need another edge loop in here because I need to kind of connect all these things. So what I can end up doing is using the multi-cut to go here to here, create just another junction. And then what I'm going to have this do is come over here. And now I'm going to get rid of this edge so I can kind of connect these vertices together. So we can then go target weld, right? Target weld. Whoop. Bring that one to here. And now I'm going to have I need an additional edge loop here to bring this around, right? So I can weld that now, but I'm going to end up having to get rid of some of these faces. So I'm going to have to probably get rid of this face and then get an edge loop to come in here. So if I want to make it kind of a perfect edge loop, I got to get rid of that vertex. Use the multi-cut tool, hold down Control, get that edge loop to come in there, and now I can start attaching that. And so the same thing here, I need to attach this to that, right? Attach this to that, and now I just need another edge loop to connect to this one, right? So you just start welding them together, right? And as I start to look at how many edge loops I have here, I can carry them around the other side of the head. Now it's not perfect yet, but this gets you to start and how you start kind of connecting these things and building out the geometry more. You'll definitely need more edge loops around the neck, or I will. And in the next one, I will be working on the ears. I hope this all helps, and good luck with it.